Hello and welcome to Premiere number 22. And tonight's session, we're going to continue focusing on frames and how we think and how we process. This is very important. This is an integral part of the internal map of reality. So we'll do our 1 minute meditation and then we'll have two short videos, one discussing power frames in more detail, and then the second segment will be a more detailed description of how to exercise, how to do the exercise associated with it. So we've been coming along and we've talked about modes of thinking and being the five senses plus speech. Then we looked at how we structure all of that information into a picture frame and then assign a meaning to it. And that meaning can be very basic. It can be, oh, I like this or I don't like it, whatever. Or it can be significant. It can have trauma associated with it, or it can have something that actually motivates you and raises you above your typical state of consciousness. So these frames will have both emotional or cognitive information in it, state of mind change information, and they will also cause a behavioral change. Your heart rate will change, your whole metabolism will respond to these frames, to the information in the frames. So very important. So we're going to dig into it a bit more and try the exercises. I will be introducing more for the patrons in this next coming week. Be putting on an extra level for those who are able to attend classes with me. There'll be a patron level for that. In addition, I will be offering my current patrons the ability to book sessions and be by phone, right? If you're in North America, no problem. If you're outside North America, we can connect via Skype. And that will become part of your, trying to understand this material. So one-on-one sessions you can book. Okay, so let's go into the 1 minute meditation. And remember now, we are going to focus on the art of detachment. So it's actually a funny thing where you're able to maintain your focus, able to maintain your presence, your awareness of who you are, where you are, and what you are doing, but you're not doing it in a fixated way. So you're allowing free flow of information to come into you, you're assessing it, and then letting it go. In other words, just letting it flow through you. I sometimes think of it as sitting on a conveyor belt, and the information is coming towards you, and you stay calm and you just let it come by. And if there's something that is of interest on the conveyor belt, you may spend more time focusing on it, and then you can put it back on the conveyor belt and let it go by. So thoughts are like that. They will continually be coming towards you in a flow. You do not necessarily have to attach to any of those items. You can let them flow by. So that's what the detachment exercise is about. So try that. And then after that 1 minute meditation, we will go right into our segments dealing with power frames. Enjoy, and we'll be talking with you soon. And hello to another little short video. This one is explaining exercise number 3. Now this exercise came out of the presentation made on January 19th. Didn't have a lot of time to discuss it then, but just make this little video to explain it. And this will probably be the last exercise for a while dealing with frames. We'll be moving on to another subject, so I really wanted you to become familiar with frames and how to use them, and particularly this one, power frames. So let's just take a look at it. So power frames are very important. Now you probably already use them, but are not totally aware of when you're using them, and you may be able to use them more frequently and maybe enhance and get some more benefits from them. It's my belief that highly successful people use their power frames all the time. And I could give you examples. I think of my mother, who was extremely powerful and influential lady. She used her power frames, and you could see when she was facing a challenge, she would pull up a power frame and the whole room would change, her whole posture would change, and you could see that there's something she did, something she was thinking about that just galvanized her whole energy. So I've saw that many times growing up, that my mother would grab something inside. So you can do that too. You can grab something inside that will galvanize you and move you on to the next level. So we've already talked about the process of how to do this. If you have an event from the past or even one in the present that you can draw on, that a memory of something that was very powerful for you, or person or something. But if you don't have that, you can go into your future and create one. It's perfectly legitimate to use your imagination and create the perfect image of you doing what you want and achieving what you want. So whether you go into the past and recall a power memory or you create one, you need to go through this phase. You need to investigate it. You need to look at all the modes. And if a mode is empty, you need to fill it in. You can, it's perfectly okay to say, well, if there were sounds in this memory, what would they be? What would I most likely hear? It's okay. You don't have to be 100% correct. You just need to have something in there that makes sense for you in that scenario. If it's words that there are no words, well, make up some words that make sense for that image, for that frame. Okay, this is embellish the frame. Find all of the visual things. Find all of the textures if you felt anything. But if they're not there, well, figure out what would be there. What would you physically be feeling? You can go on and the smells and taste if you weren't eating anything, but you could probably be smelling and tasting something inside. And if there was something there to eat, what would it be? So go through all your 6 modes and really get comfortable with them. You can play with some of the filters. We were playing with the direction filter, which way you're looking, whatever. But the most one I think you should be playing with is the dissociated filter. If this is a very powerful frame for you and you're either remembering or creating it, become very associated. Put yourself right in the frame. If there's someone you're admiring, put yourself right there holding their hand, or them putting their arm around you. Be right there in that moment. Make it more associated if you can. And then finally, once you're really comfortable with that power frame and you've exhausted all of the modes and you played with some of the filters and you're really comfortable, you really know that power frame, then you can start to internalize it. And one way of internalizing it is to find something in the outside that you can relate it to. Your favorite crystal, a stone, or something, ideally something you carry around with you, or you can carry around with you. But you need to practice this. You need to connect this power frame to something. Now, if you don't want to use an external physical thing, one thing you can do is just give it a name. I keep mentioning my Power Beach frame, and every time I mention it, it gets a little bit stronger inside me. Every time you touch that crystal, if it's a crystal that you're using as an external pointer, every time you touch it, every time you look at it, you'll be reinforcing that frame. So practice, practice, practice. People who are extremely powerful and extremely successful do this all the time. They sleep with it. When they're walking, every time they're awake doing anything, they sort of surround themselves with the things, the images that make them feel powerful, that will help them achieve their goal. So this is a very important phase. Make it a symbol, internalize it and externalize it, reinforce it, recall it as many times as you can. I would recommend that if you did associate it with a stone or a crystal, carry that with you all the time, and frequently during the day, if you're not doing anything, just hold it in your hand. And this will begin to make that frame, that power frame, more real for you. Every time you recall it, it gets more powerful. So in summary, identify what your power frame is. If you don't have one from the past or the present, you can create one perfectly legitimate. Investigate it, get to know it, feel it, just embellish it as much as you can. Then make it a symbol. Give it something that you can connect it to, either externally or internally. And then practice it frequently. The more you practice it, you will get more abilities, more resourceful with it. A little bit of a cautionary note here. In one session I ran, we did power frames, and that very night, one of the young ladies in the group tried to use that power frame with something really, 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 really heavy. She got some really bad news that her relative had passed, and she tried to use her power frame to deal with it, and she came back the next session and said, "Oh, the power frame didn't work because I got the news that well, maybe it was a little bit too much of a serious circumstance and too early in her learning to use it." So I just suggest her, practice with small things. Then when you encounter the big issues in your life, you will be more able to deal with it. So in other words, don't try to climb Mount Everest tomorrow. Climb a small hill. Do the small things first, but get really comfortable with it. Practice, 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 and you will naturally gain more ability with this. So we will go over what things you found. So I would like you to try with your power frames if you haven't already. If you have already been doing power frames, well, revisit your current power frame or create another one. You can have lots of power frames. Another option you can do is to investigate your friends and family members as to what things they draw on internally to gain more power when they need it. So that's it. Enjoy the exercise. And as before, if you have any issues or you want more information or bounce, please just feel free, reach out, email me, and I'd be more than pleased to sort of, go over it with you. So we'll see you in the next session.